The rules-based international order has a problem. Right now, 4 countries are dismantling it. Deliberately, systematically, and in growing coordination with each other. They share no formal treaty of mutual defense. They speak different languages, worship different ideologies, and harbor deep suspicions of each other that stretch back decades. What binds Russia, China, Iran, and North Korea is something simpler and more durable than friendship. It's a shared conviction that the United States-led international system is the primary obstacle to their survival, and that the fastest way to weaken it is to act together. The analysts at the Center for a New American Security call this grouping the Axis of Upheaval. Other think tanks use the acronym CRINK. Whatever name you give it, the trajectory is the same. Cooperation that began as transactional has become structural, and the world is paying the price. To understand how this axis formed, you need to go back to February 24, 2022. Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine didn't just reshape European security. It became the catalyst that pulled 4 previously loosely connected adversaries into genuine operational partnership. The West responded to the invasion with the most sweeping sanctions regime ever imposed on a major economy. Russia was cut off from the SWIFT international banking messaging system. Its central bank reserves were frozen, and its access to Western technology collapsed overnight. Moscow needed new suppliers, new markets, new cover, and 3 countries, each already locked in their own confrontation with Washington, were ready to help. What Ukraine's defenders thought would isolate Russia instead accelerated the formation of the most consequential anti-Western coalition since the Cold War. The engine of the entire axis runs on Chinese fuel. According to testimony delivered to the U.S.-China Economic and Security Review Commission in February 2025, Russia's ability to continue its war against Ukraine is entirely dependent on Chinese support. Without Beijing's help with sanctions evasion and technology transfer, Moscow would have neither the financial means to pay for the war nor the battlefield technology to fight it. China became Russia's top buyer of fossil fuels, purchasing oil and gas at heavily discounted rates that kept the Kremlin solvent. Chinese suppliers became the largest external source of dual-use goods, sustaining Russia's military production. Semiconductors, precision optics, drone components, and machine tools that flow from Chinese factories to Russian weapons assembly lines. According to Germany's foreign ministry, up to 80% of Russia's sanctions circumvention now involves Chinese entities. And in August 2025 alone, China exported a record quantity of fiber optic cable and nearly $50 million worth of lithium-ion batteries to Russia, reinforcing its position as the Kremlin's primary wartime industrial partner. Beijing does this while maintaining the posture of neutrality. That posture is the most sophisticated element of China's strategy. Chinese engineers work inside Russian drone facilities, adapting civilian quadcopters for combat use. Chinese front companies registered in Hong Kong serve as transshipment hubs for Iranian missile procurement networks. Chinese banks, careful to avoid direct SWIFT exposure, have built a parallel financial architecture using yuan-denominated transactions and central bank digital currencies that allow Russia, Iran, and North Korea to trade outside Western oversight. The U.S.-China Economic and Security Review Commission concluded in November 2025 that China is the decisive enabler of sanctions and export control evasion across all 3 of its Axis partners simultaneously, a single country functioning as the financial backbone of a 4-power coalition challenging the West. North Korea's contribution is the most kinetic and the most revealing about how deeply the Axis has been institutionalized. Pyongyang began shipping weapons to Russia in August 2023, starting with ammunition containers. By late 2024, it had deployed an estimated 14,000 to 15,000 troops to the Kursk region of Russia, fighting alongside Russian forces in direct combat operations on European soil. According to the CSIS Korea Chair's October 2025 assessment, North Korea earned between $9.6 billion and $12.3 billion from arms exports and troop deployments to Russia between 2023 and the end of 2025, a figure that dwarfs North Korea's entire formal trade volume of just $2.7 billion in 2024. The revenue is staggering. The strategic return is more dangerous still. North Korean soldiers came home from Kursk carrying something no sanctions regime can intercept: battlefield experience. They observed drone warfare, electronic countermeasures, and precision artillery coordination at a scale North Korea had never previously encountered. Kim Jong-un launched the country's largest naval destroyer in April 2025. He unveiled AI-enhanced suicide attack drones. North Korean Hwasong-11 ballistic missiles fired into Ukraine showed a marked increase in accuracy by January 2025, a direct result of Russian battlefield data feeding back into Pyongyang's weapons development cycle. The formal architecture of the Axis has also hardened. In June 2024, Vladimir Putin flew to Pyongyang and signed a comprehensive strategic partnership treaty with Kim Jong-un, a pact committing both nations to provide military and other assistance without delay if either is attacked. In January 2025, Russia and Iran signed an identically structured comprehensive strategic partnership. These are not declarations of intent. They are operational commitments, drafted in the language of mutual defense, linking Moscow's industrial base, Pyongyang's manpower, and Tehran's drone production into a single interconnected supply chain. And underpinning all of it, Beijing, never signing, never joining formally, always present. Now pull back the lens. Because the picture the Daily News presents, 4 separate crises in Ukraine, the South China Sea, the Middle East, and the Korean Peninsula, is not the whole picture. The hidden architecture of the Axis is a technology transfer loop that no Western intelligence agency fully mapped until it was already operating at scale. Consider the chain. Iran developed the Shahed 136 loitering munition, the cheap, GPS-guided drone that became Russia's most effective terror weapon against Ukrainian cities and power infrastructure. Russia began producing that drone domestically at the Alabuga Special Economic Zone, 600 miles east of Moscow, under a deal signed in early 2023. That Alabuga factory produced more than 2,500 drones in 2023 and was on track to produce 6,000 in 2025, according to CNAS research published in February 2025. North Korea sent workers to Alabuga, workers who learned production techniques combining Iranian drone design, Russian manufacturing processes, and Chinese electronic components. Those workers returned to Pyongyang, and North Korea's new AI-enhanced suicide drone program, unveiled in 2025, incorporates lessons from every node of that chain simultaneously. A drone born in Tehran, refined in Russia, built with Chinese parts, and now evolving in Pyongyang, a weapons genealogy that crosses 4 jurisdictions and defeats the sanctions regime imposed on each of them individually. The second hidden dimension is the simultaneity risk, the danger that the West is managing 4 separate crises while the Axis is managing one coordinated campaign. The Center for a New American Security warned explicitly in its Axis assessment that the greatest emerging risk is not any single member acting aggressively, but the prospect of 2 or more members initiating crises at the same time, in explicit coordination or through opportunistic aggression, with one front designed to drain Western capacity while another opens. In July 2024, Russian and Chinese nuclear-capable bombers flew together into the Alaska Air Defense Identification Zone, the first joint incursion of its kind, a deliberate signal delivered in the language of strategic aviation. China is watching how the West manages simultaneous pressure in Europe, the Middle East, and the Korean Peninsula. The lesson it may be drawing is that the West cannot sustain 3 fronts at once, and that a 4th, in the Taiwan Strait, might arrive when American interceptor stockpiles, political will, and alliance cohesion are at their lowest ebb. The global economy has already absorbed the first wave of Axis-driven disruption, and it's barely beginning. Russia's war in Ukraine, sustained by Chinese economic cover, drove the largest European energy crisis since the 1970s. Iranian drone technology, recycled through Russia, degraded Ukraine's power grid, and forced European governments to divert industrial capacity toward defense production. North Korea's artillery shells, millions of rounds shipped to Russia, extended a war that has consumed over $200 billion in Western military and economic aid, draining stockpiles faster than NATO defense industries can replenish them. The US consumed roughly 1/4 of its entire THAAD interceptor stockpile in 12 days, defending Israel from Iranian missiles in June 2025. Annual THAAD production stands at fewer than 100 interceptors. The Axis doesn't need to defeat the West militarily. It needs to exhaust it economically and strategically, and that campaign is already well underway. 3 scenarios define the next chapter of the Axis story. In the first, the Axis reaches the limits of its own internal contradictions. China's economy slows, Russia resents its junior partner status, and North Korea's growing autonomy creates friction with Beijing. The Axis fragments without external pressure, reverting to bilateral opportunism rather than strategic coordination. In the second scenario, a negotiated settlement in Ukraine reduces the acute pressure on Russia. But the technology transfer networks, the defense pacts, and the financial evasion architecture all remain in place, dormant but intact, available to be reactivated the moment the next crisis demands it. In the third scenario, and this is the one that the Institute for the Study of War described in June 2025 as an adversary entente, a deliberately understated phrase for a deliberately dangerous reality. The Axis continues to deepen, new members are brought into its orbit, and the coordinated challenge to Western-led institutions becomes the defining geopolitical condition of the next decade. 4 countries, no formal alliance, no shared flag, just a shared conviction that the current order must break, and a growing capacity to break it together. If the West continues to treat each member of this axis as a separate problem requiring a separate strategy, which crisis, Ukraine, the South China Sea, Iran, or the Korean Peninsula, do you think is most likely to become the spark for something far larger? So what do you think? Share your thoughts in the comments below. TGN presented. Thank you for choosing us.